This is the Conscious Radio Network.
All right. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you might be on this spaceship we call Earth. Welcome to Conscious Radio Network's live podcast series, The Weekly Seance, and I'm your host, Reverend Dr. Paul Mekas. So it's finally October, feeling like fall, at least in this sector of the mothership. Haha. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please click subscribe, like, share, comment. You can also listen to the series on Libsyn, iHeart, Spotify, Google Podcast, and hopefully soon Apple Podcast. Also, a word from one of our sponsors, Alexander Nemo says, "Happy October. The veils are getting thinner and reading is easier." Alexander, contact Alexander for a reading and he'll help you make better decisions during your life's journey. Alexander uses his talent and insight to help his clients expand awareness, understand life events, move towards freedom, and in general, to help you get out of your own way. What's in the cards for you during this Halloween season? All right. Now, tonight, our first international guest on this show, coming straight from the lands of Australia. Joining us tonight, optimistic Xzavia, right? I think it is. Yeah, something like, yeah. All right. A heart full of love for humanity. Her mission is to assist people from all walks of life to discover real, unconditional love within yourself, to help you realize the reason you're here, what are your lessons this time around, and how to be the absolute best version of yourself and that you can be. What separates her from other healers and coaches is her unique ability to channel exactly the exact style of treatment, healing, care, and assistance you need. Xzavia helps open your eyes to a whole new way of thinking, attracting, and manifesting that you've never thought possible. Let's welcome to the show this evening, Xzavia. How you doing? Welcome.
I love the applause. Thanks.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
This international guest. I'm so flattered.
Yes.
Bring on another accent.
Yeah, it's gotten a little tough. And I say welcome back because you were with us on Monday. And yes. It was a little bit of it was tricky because we were having quite a bit of unusual and unexpected technical difficulties, which was a bug on the platform, and I forgave them. So we do have somebody watching right now. Richard says, "Hello,
hey, Richard.
Glad to finally see this." So am I, Richard. So am I.
Thanks for your patience.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh man.
And you said my name right eventually. You did well.
Thank you.
Good job.
Yeah, when you first see that, I'm like, when I first saw that, I'm like, oh crap, I don't want to.
It's all right. I've had the weirdest pronunciations for my name. It's totally fine.
Yeah. They butcher my last name, but I'm used to it. So let me get some of my notes here and stuff like that. Let's jump right in on how did this all start for you?
At a real young age? Past lives part or like psychic part or
the psychic? Let's start with the psychic part, the intuitive.
No worries. Well, most people hear the term natural born psychic, and I have a bit of a different opinion on that because I believe any of us has the potential to be psychic, but it's not what we're all supposed to do in this life. So I didn't have my skills or the abilities from a young age. Like lots of people said they've been seeing things since they were 4 and things like that. I learned in my 30s.
Oh, wow.
So early 30s. I'm 40 now. And so, but it feels like I've been doing this for years and years and years. So I was in a marriage that I met my partner when I was 18 and we got married when I was 21. And I grew and changed in that time, as I was meant to. as we're all meant to, I believe. He didn't, unfortunately, and didn't appreciate my growth and change in learning to be psychic and just coming into these abilities and finding my path. So we grew apart, but in that, I think that was meant to happen so I would find myself, because I wasn't happy in that marriage. So then I learned massage therapy first, and a lot of my teachers were spiritual, which I thought was really cool. And they talked about releasing and cleansing in between clients and things. So then I met a psychic that I thought was amazing, and I got to do her course. And then I learned, and I realized some of these things I was learning I actually had been doing all this time. I just had no idea. I thought they were just normal things that people did or thought or manifested. Yeah. So I realized those skills I was learning. And then everything just came thick and fast. I did learn and get certificates in certain areas, but then as I work on my clients, I would channel and learn extra. Like the universe just showed me how to do things. So I don't have a piece of paper for everything that I do. But I don't think you really need one once you know, and the feedback from your clients and the word of mouth speaks for itself. So you get what you're ready for. So that's how it started for me in short version.
And like you said, when it comes to partners in your life and stuff like that, I've noticed this too, that do you see it as a threat? Like say, during your development, when you meet somebody, a significant other, and you start dating, and then they realize that you're trying to develop your psychic abilities, and some people take that as a threat.
I can see that. Yeah,
I don't want to know everything.
It could be more of a test to see if you're actually, so the universe is throwing out like, how authentic are you going to be? Are you going to follow your heart and do what you feel like you should, or are you going to let the outside opinions sway you from that authenticity? And for a while there, now my throat's playing up, and I was just about to talk about the throat chakra. That's so funny. Thank you. I was torn for a while because I would have these like opinions based on the knowledge I was learning and the skills I was developing about why we're here, for example, and things like that. And I'd have these conversations with maybe him and his family just at the table, and I'll get shot down with offense at the thought that I would say such things, which is okay. But I would get defensive at the start and then just like shut down and not say anything. And so then I learned to just, when I went to spiritual circles and hung out with those shiny friends that I would call them, I would be more myself. But when I was with them, I was the old me. So then I had this split personality. And then I developed thyroid issues, which was quite interesting because that's your throat chakra playing up, or lose my voice. And it was all about that, being told not to speak and your opinions aren't valid. So I learned eventually to not be offended if someone had a different opinion to you. It's totally okay. I learned to say something like, that's okay. We all have different beliefs. This is what I believe. And if you believe something different, that's totally fine. So I'd say that instead of getting all upset and red-faced and flushed and not talk.
Yeah. Now you're an IICT member. Explain a little bit about that, about the membership.
Oh, that's like just a group in Australia. I don't know if it's worldwide. I can't actually remember. That sort of regulates psychics and mediums and people like that to make sure that they're on board. They're good at what they do. You have insurance and things like that too. So you're part of this membership group where there's ongoing training. They support people that do alternative therapies, which is really good. And you can become a teacher trainer through them and be accredited and all sorts of things.
Cool.
Yeah.
Huh. You have now you teach psychic development, or you have psychic development courses that you offer.
I teach one-on-one, like mentoring. Because it's my favorite thing to do. I realize that every time I have a session with a client, I'm a conduit. Nobody heals you. You heal yourself. You're holding space for them. If anybody claims themselves to be a healer, it's a little bit egotistical. You're holding energy and space and allowing your own higher self to come through and help. So we just have different skills and abilities in the way we do that. And it's like a bedside manner, if that's the term you use. Like, it's just how we present ourselves and how we do that, and if it's from a place of love or not, which everyone should be coming from a place of love. So I realized in my sessions I was educating a lot, spending a lot of time helping people know how to maintain their chakras after they've been balanced and how everything works and why these things are important. So because there's so much education, I realized I really, really enjoy teaching. So I developed a course, which is how I learn. I started going to classes. So I do one-on-one mentoring, which I really love, and then group classes in person. And now I've finally developed an online version, which I'm excited about. So people can do it in their own time, and then it's a bit more cost effective, and you can do it anywhere in the world. The one-on-one I can do on Zoom as well. I've had clients. It doesn't have to be in person. Energy is everywhere, so being in person doesn't matter. But yeah, I've really enjoyed developing this online version of the class. So you can watch the videos of me chatting away and saying just everything I know, and then follow along with the PDF. And then at the end, you can opt in to do a Zoom with me, so you can ask any questions, and I quiz you on something that you've learned to make sure you have before I send you a certificate. So I know that you've done the work, and I don't want to put my name to say you've been trained by me unless you definitely understand. And I know it fails, of course. I make sure they're really good to go and they're confident in what they've learned. So,
and everybody can find this information and on your courses on your website, which is optimistic
Xzavia.
Xzavia.com.au.
AU for Australia. Don't forget the AU.
Yeah. And they can find you also on Facebook.
Yes,
I'll have
Facebook.
that scrolling on the bottom of the screen too. So
Thanks.
You're also on Facebook, and you do have a YouTube channel.
I do. My YouTube channel is a little bit lazy, but I'm on there.
Right on. We got to start. I mean, yeah. When I started this show, it was like, okay, where should I concentrate? You got to put all your energy in one place first before growth can actually start happening. So
that's right. My other YouTube channel is a bit more popular. The podcast.
Yeah. Now, speaking of podcasts,
yes.
You also are part of a podcast as well, correct?
I am. Duo, yeah. It's called Mick and the Psychic.
Nice.
And so yeah, clearly I'm the psychic, but Mick he won't admit it, but he's pretty damn shiny himself. He's a hypnotherapist, and the people we've interviewed have been so interesting. It's just about it's a bit like this. These episodes where we educate, but just bring different kinds of modalities to the table, have really great discussions. People can take it or leave it, just learn, be open-minded, and we just get to have some great deep conversations. They go for about an hour and a half, long-form podcast, really fun.
And that's is that a weekly show? Monthly
show?
It
comes out every our Friday mornings, so that'd be your Friday night.
Yeah,
I think late because it comes 5
actually,
o'clock.
Because you're a day ahead of us. 15 hours a day ahead of us. So
so it'd be late your Friday night. So it's something like that. So it comes out every week. So we enjoy it. We're nearly up to 40 episodes for the year. So we nearly finished the season.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting we're actually, I think we're just past a year.
Fantastic.
No, I think next month. I should know this.
Should know this.
I should know this, but it's so busy. Just, I mean, when you're doing everything and you're wearing all hats, no pun intended, that it's hard to keep track of stuff. But I think we're right on our anniversary, so we're on our 1 year anniversary.
Well done.
So, thank you. And there's the first in anything. There's the first of everything. Like I said, you're the first international a guest on the show, which is an honor. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So as far as the Australia in general, how is the work that you do accepted by society? I mean, here in the States, it's kind of, I wouldn't say it's taboo, but there are groups and stuff like that. People just don't want, that's the work of the devil, or this is that. Is it accepted in that country across the board, even with the indigenous, or I wouldn't say indigenous, but with the Aboriginal?
Oh yeah, okay. So I don't think we're as I'm only basing my knowledge of the US on movies and a couple of people that I know. So you seem like a more of a religious country. Like some people are more set in, like you said, work of the devil kind of thing. we're pretty laid back here. So there's definitely people that have religions and different national, like we're so multicultural. So it's not really an issue. It's accepted everywhere. Just some people will just go, I'm not into that woo woo stuff. Like, but it's not like, get away from me. It's pretty cool. And Aboriginals, like spiritual, like it's not a religion, right? So it's not, everything's connected, and even like the Aboriginal community would understand that their dream time and their beliefs, it's all very similar. It's just depends on where you come from and how you look at it. So it all stems back to the same place. You can call, I say I'm talking to your higher self or the universe. Some other people would say God or spirit. So it depends on whatever you call it, really. Yeah. We have a question.
Yeah, Richard says, I'm curious, have you ever encountered anyone with past lives that were not Earth-based?
Getting right into it. Awesome.
Yeah,
definitely, myself included. It comes up a lot with you. And Richard, if you're interested in that in the first place, you definitely would have had lives yourself that weren't Earth-based, different dimensions. This is getting deep straight away. There's different levels of Earth I've discovered. It looks like Earth, but it's not. The colors are all different. It felt really normal, though. I had a past life where I was in Scotland, and I got shown it was Scotland, and I got torn away from my partner, and as a whole, it was all very dramatic, and except the sky was purple and the grass was blue. It was all the colors were just weird, and I came out of that thinking, okay, that's interesting. But I wasn't quite ready for the explanation back when I discovered that life. But I got shown there's different levels. I feel like there's 9 levels of Earth, different variations of it. But then there's other dimensions and other planets, and you can have lives in between lives when you're doing other work, helping maybe spirits cross over or creating, making planets. There's lots of different kinds of lives.
and maybe not necessarily part of the past life topic, but sure, have you had any readings from for somebody of a spirit coming in that was extraterrestrial or from another
galaxy,
other star system?
So sometimes so there's I'm a medium as well. So then sometimes when I was learning that at the start, it was hard to tell sometimes, is this their higher self talking to me, or someone in spirit connecting with them, or their spirit guide, or something like someone they've been with before. So trying to learn the difference between those was a bit tricky. One of my own daughters actually had like an ET, alien spirit guide, come through for them and letting her know. And this is quite common that they're a guide, but they've been with them before in another life. So they have that connection with them because they've lived with them before, or that's part of their family, looking out for them now, checking in on them. Yeah. And that's who they report to. That's who you're sending all your thoughts and energy of what's been happening in your life, because we're here for experience. We're here to learn and grow as much as possible. And so you can have more than one life at the same time. So if people don't know, like you can our soul gets impatient. So yes, most of us are. I've had 2 clients before, 3 clients before that I've met when I've connected with them, and it's their first time here. Wow. And I've seen a lot of people, but 3 that it's been their first time. And they all they'd all been diagnosed with a form of autism, interestingly. Oh. Yeah.
Oh. That kind of,
so your brain
I can kind of relate. Yeah. I can almost kind of relate to that. It's like you're trying to soak it all in, and it's like, no.
Yes. You might have had many lives, but not on Earth as a human. Yeah. And so you don't gel well with people as much, for example. So that's common, but it's not always the reason. It's like, you might just be learning those skills.
It's almost like bringing in too, almost like the topic of the Indigo children. That quite possibly, do you think that maybe the growing number of autistic children that are being born into the world could all be the Indigo children? And
I'm not sure. Someone we interviewed
that's
I
Yeah.
wasn't sure about. I didn't know much about indigo, rainbow, crystal. There's all different kinds of those.
Yeah.
You did interview somebody about that actually, and that's what his specialty. And yeah, he wasn't really sure about the label of the different kinds of children because of the generations that come in and all that. It's just from what from what we've learned, I believe there's just so much going on in their minds. Their connection is so strong. They're so connected to the universe, and they're not very grounded to the earth because either they haven't been here many times or they're just not having the skills to connect with Mother Earth. So that's the main thing to help them with, is how to release this stuff and connect. So then, because there's so much going on here, they're getting all these extra messages, and then they're connected to some other past lives, like in a really fresh way. So they might be overwhelmed with. That's why they have these amazing skills. There's things that they're really good at. Because I believe you might be pulling them in strongly from other lives that they've already had. And then they're channeling as well. So they're learning, they're seeing different things in their head all at once, and it can be overwhelming. And so then the outside world's like, too much. So I'm not sure if that's the particular children coming here to help, or they're just, that's part of their lessons, is to help to learn to ground and integrate and be part of society and how to manage it. And to teach the people around them to be more tolerant and helpful too, and not just
and patience
because they're different. Teaching everybody else patience. So many lessons.
Yeah, I can relate to that too, because there's times I'll channel information and I'll pick up some information and experience something from somebody else's perspective, and I'll feel that energy and pick up that person's energy, and it's like I could feel like, oh wow, that a particular individual is so used to be able to communicate solely through telepathy, just by thought, which we can naturally do. We just forgot how to do it.
Yes, exactly.
And then when they come into body, on this planet, it's like they're used to that, but they're not. So their language skills takes much longer as they're going up.
And they get frustrated that people can't just read their mind, like know what they're feeling.
Like, why? You can't.
You should know. That's teaching. So you would be, your big lesson then would be about learning to be empathetic, which is great, because then if you're feeling what people feel and picking up on what they go through, that's really great. So you're being able to tap into that. You would be much more open to understanding people and just getting that's them. They can't always help it. You can still learn to be better, but it does help us understand people a bit better, doesn't it?
Yeah, we definitely have a lot to learn on this planet.
For sure. Earth's the hardest from what I understand, because we have free will here, but we forget everything when we come. So other planets, from what I've been shown, when you still remember your other lives. So it's like going to kindergarten. What's the point of going there when you remember why you're there and you know what lessons you're supposed to learn? Like, it's like you're cheating on a test.
Yeah.
On Earth, we forget everything, and then we come here, and then this is like uni, college. Sorry, we call it uni. It's like going to college, and then you got to get your master's, and then try to figure out all your lessons and remember. So the goal is, like, if you can learn to be open-minded and then maybe see a psychic of some kind or become one, or tune in, or just learn all this knowledge, that means you're well on your way to finishing your lessons, I believe, because you've learned that there's more to life. You have other lives. You're meant to be learning things. You're not just here for a mundane life to just where you eat, work, sleep, repeat. There's so much more, and how we're connected to every living thing on the planet. So when you get that, you're doing really well. And you're passing.
I think quite possibly too, what could change this is I think we truly do remember everything from a past life. It's just I wouldn't say we choose not to. It's just they have not integrated anything that could help that in our society while we're growing up. We're forced to be indoctrinated into these systems instead of just to be like meditation. I mean, I've heard stories of these schools, like such in India, obviously in India, and some places in China where instead of doing prayer, prayer such as, or, is certain times of the day you're doing meditation. So if you're doing all these meditative type exercises and stuff, the more you do that and the more often you do that, I feel that any child will become more connected with their spirit self, their eternal
What a wonderful
self.
habit to get into.
Yeah. And you could possibly remember who you were in a past life.
That's right. Just the one that you need to remember at the time. Like sometimes people are curious, but they don't always come up. And they might come up at a certain time in your life because it's a lesson you need to shift at that time to help you move forward. So they just pop up.
Yeah.
And it's good. I like how you said you don't necessarily have the skills to know how to navigate that past life. So when I help people with their past lives, and mine's not regression what I do. Some people, if you know what regression is, you get hypnotized and you're fully awake and aware, but you see your own past life. Whereas I haven't been trained in that, and what I do is I see the past life for you. So then there's an element of trust there to know that I'm doing that for you and connecting to your past life. So, and I become you in the past life and I see it, and we go through it, fast forward, rewind, zoom in if we need to, skip to important days, and understand. Like I do it pretty quickly, so I can smash through about I could do 5 past lives in an hour, for example.
Wow,
and clear a whole lot of stuff you need. And so then, whereas regression it's beautiful. I love it. This is what my podcast partner does, but it might take 3 sessions for the one past life. But then you get to see it yourself, so it's a different perspective. And you might need to do that to release it for you because that's the style that you need. So you go where you're drawn. So then I clear any negative thoughts, feeling aspects and things from that life, or those lives that you could be hindering you now, so you can move forward in this life and in future lives. So and it's always going to be perfect timing, because that's why you sought me out, or someone similar to me that also does what I do. And then we also integrate any great skills or knowledge that you did have that might help you as well. I added that one in myself after the training, because I thought that'd be great. Say you're a doctor, or you're a witch or a herbalist or something in another life, and you're interested in this kind of work, then integrating those skills into your conscious, subconscious, so you can pull forward into your conscious awareness whenever you need it, would be wonderful. So,
wow.
Yeah, so that's why we do it, because we don't always clear all the history from our past lives when we cross over and go home in the healing process, because we want to repeat some of those lessons so we can learn, because we might have. How I've been shown it is when we cross over, we sort of see our lives on screens or something similar that you would relate to. We analyze it, we process it, we look at our lives and go, oh, wow, okay. Yep, I was meant to learn that. Now I remember I came here to learn that, because last time I was in that relationship way too long, and that's how I passed away, maybe domestic violence, for example.
Yeah.
This time I was in this relationship and I got out so much faster, because I learned to love myself and stand up for myself. And I listened to those other soulmates that came in to help me better this time than I did last time. That's really good, actually. But I still want to work on this aspect. So I'm going to come back again and try that again. Actually, maybe I want to do it from the other perspective. Maybe I'm going to be the aggressor this time and see what it's like on the other side. So we swap roles with our soulmates and things, and we try different things out.
Yeah.
Which is really, it's hard for some people to get their head around why you would want to be certain kinds of people, the victim or there's a place for everybody. We have to have these certain roles to learn the lessons, and then decide if we need to come back and try again and again. Or in the meantime, you go see someone like me who can clear the stuff for you, so you don't have to keep coming back and doing the same, I was going to swear, crap over and over again. I promised I'd behave myself and not swear like a typical Aussie.
Oh, no worries. So what has been the most revolutionary client, without having, I mean, you don't have to give any details of the identity and stuff like that, but what have you
in
ever
what
had a
area?
client that's been, like
Like, there's
really
so
just
many.
revolutionary, like, wow, you just see
Something.
whether it's past life, or you just see the change in the person.
All right, my favorite story that I'd love to share. This was an early on one, and I think when we're learning to do these things, for people, you get amazing confirmations that are so obvious, slap you in the face, so you keep going. and you completely trust the work you do. And so I got this really obvious one early on when I'd only been doing this for about 6 months. So I was running like a children's meditation class at a market, and this lady brought her son in. He was a little meditating guru who was so cute. He was only like about 3 or 4, and he'd sit there with his fingers like this and legs crossed, and off he goes into space when I take you through the meditation.
Yeah.
And she was pregnant, and she'd gone home a week later. She knew I did past lives, so she's reading my banner and everything. And then she was washing bottles and sterilizing them ready because she knew this baby was coming soon and she knew she couldn't breastfeed. Anyway, his son was helping wash the bottles. He'd just stand up at the sink with her. I'll get into the why that's all. I'm surprised actually now thinking about it that he used to put his hands in the water. So I'll explain that better soon. But he said to his mum when he was helping wash the bottles, "This is what I remember doing this for my babies before they died." And she went, "What? What do you mean?" And she's like, "Hang on." So she definitely believes in no coincidences. So she's like, "I just met Xavier. Maybe this is something to do with the past life. This is interesting. Why would he say that?"
Yeah.
Very odd. And there's so many stories of children saying the darndest things like that out of nowhere.
Yeah,
So
those
she told me-
spontaneous things are like, whoa. what was
doesn't
that?
make sense. He's definitely picking up on remembering a past life, like you said. Like, I think that's why children do that, to help us think there's more to life. This is interesting, and to question things. So, so she called me, and I hadn't done a past life for a child before, and I was a bit hesitant because I thought, well, if anything traumatic or dark in there for some reason, sometimes it's it's not always beautiful. I don't want to tell him because he's little, so I just went with my intuition at the time, and I just asked him if it's okay if I just put my hand on his back while he was playing with his iPad, and he said yes. So I make sure I got permission to touch him.
Yeah.
And I just tuned in, and I didn't tell him what I was seeing. Usually if I have a client, I'm telling them everything, the whole story, opening my connecting and going back into it. But I just took it all in and processed it all, and then told his parents at the end of it, away from him. So what I saw, and this might be a bit triggering for some people, just to give you a heads up, okay, for people listening. So he was a doctor, and I can't remember the exact date now because this was years ago in that life and for myself. He was a doctor, and his wife, they had a toddler and 2 babies, and she had mental issues. And in those days, the only option was to put her in like an asylum. They would, she'd be straight jacketed and zapped and all sorts of, have a lobotomy, that kind of thing. So he was like, no, we can manage this at home. She's not going to one of those places. She needs to be home, take care of the babies. I can help her. I'm a doctor. Surely we'll be fine.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, one day he came home from work, and she's sitting at the table, and he said, "Where are the babies?" And she just looked over her shoulder and pointed, and there's a river behind their house, and she drowned the babies, which was sad. So no wonder I didn't tell the 4-year-old about that life. Yeah, so that was the life, and I was like, I hadn't seen anything so negative in a past life yet, so that was a bit stressful for me, but I was like, wow, I'm really grateful that I can clear this for this little boy. Because what if this was, I was thinking, what if this is connected to his little sister, this sister that's coming? He could be really overprotective or something like that. Because, so something needs to be cleared, and that's why it came up now while his mum was about to have another baby. So I thought, okay, maybe it's something to do with the overprotection or something like that for his future sister. So I cleared everything and did all the work, and then I went and explained it to the parents, what I saw. And as soon as I told the story, the mum just burst into tears. And I said, what's wrong? What did that trigger or bring up for you? And she said, he's actually afraid of the water.
Huh.
I'm like, what do you mean? And she said, well, the most I can do is get his hands in the water. He won't have a bath. She hadn't been able to bath him since he was 2. He wouldn't get in the water. He'd freak out. So she'd have to give him sponge baths to wash him, like squeeze out the water of the washer and wash him that way. She wanted to get him swimming lessons so he could be a confident swimmer. Don't even think about it. He couldn't even get him in a bath. Wow. So I said, wow, okay, that's interesting. That's not what I thought it would be about. So I thought the past life would clear something else. But this is obviously maybe something it's supposed to clear, his fear of water, which made sense. So that was interesting confirmation. And then that night, she sent me a photo of him laying on his stomach on the floor, pretending to swim, saying he wants to learn to swim. And she was just flabbergasted. Is that a word? You guys say flabbergasted? Where did that come from? I don't know. And then a week later, I think it was, or 2 weeks ago, I can't remember exactly, but it was not long after, she put a photo on Facebook tagging me and saying thank you, with not explaining exactly what happened. But she said, for all of you who know, blah, 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 my son, there's a photo of him in a bubble bath having the time of his life. If all of you who know him, I haven't been able to get him in a bath for 2 years. Thank you so much, Xzavia, for the work you do.
Wow.
Yeah. So that little boy was meant to have a normal life and be able to enjoy baths and swim and all those things. And so if they hadn't have met me at that time, and that's why the past life came up, so it could be cleared, so he could be a normal kid and enjoy swimming and playing in water, which that was the most immediate transformation I've seen in somebody. Like, that was so cool, so rewarding. So I thought that inspired me. I'm like, this is my jam. This is what I'm going to keep doing.
Yeah.
I can't not do this anymore to help people. And
Yeah,
there's been
it's a
so
blessing.
wonderful
Yeah, it's a
stories
blessing.
after. Yeah. So I'm so happy for him. And I'm still friends with her on Facebook, and he's doing amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a blessing to be able to share and help people in, with this, especially people that are, suffering from, I wouldn't say suffering, but, experiencing phobias like this. Say
So
water, fire, deep water, anything.
That's right. And they're not always what I think. Like, someone will come to me saying, I want to know if I've got a past life around something to do with water because I'm scared of water, for example, something really obvious, or confined spaces, and you think, oh yeah, you're probably buried alive, or you just assume, but it's never what I think it's going to be, which is a great way to confirm that I know I'm not just making this up. It's channeled, and it's just how it is. So yeah. And some people are just curious. They just they're obsessed with a time, like an era or a country. Others have phobias.
Oh, I've got plenty of that.
Really?
Not phobias, but other countries, and planets and stuff like that. But not to be selfish, but you offered when we tried to do this show on Monday that you might be able to possibly tap in and see if you can pick up something on a past life with me.
I sure can.
If you're up to it.
What time is it? So make sure I got time. Okay, we got time.
That's it just turned 7. 7 after 7. We got about 37 minutes.
It's okay. The universe will make sure it's not a life that's going to take 3 hours, and we're all good. So, and if you hear a knock on my door, I've just realized we've got the postie, which you would call a mailman, rocking up.
Yeah.
So knock on the door when he puts a parcel on my doorstep, but I don't have to get up. I'll just ignore him. But he'll just so you know, if you hear a knock, 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 it's that's the postie. All right. So, well, we were just talking about different countries and things. You said you have lots of those that you're curious about. Is there a particular one that you would like me to check in with?
I have a lot of connections with the Middle East, Egypt and ancient Egypt. And
yes, you do remember telling me about Egypt. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So my intention then I would set, because everything's about intention. I would set the intention then before we start that we're going to have a look at a past life possibly connected to Egypt in that area for you, Paul, that may need clearing or healing at this time. That will help you be able to move on and integrate that into your life. So if for some reason there isn't a past life around there, I'll ask for the next best thing, something that you need healing and clearing anyway.
Yeah.
So that's how I always word it for my clients. So just in case there isn't something around what they're thinking about, we'll check anything, because you might feel like, okay, I'm curious about this area and I want to see if there's a life around that. But then your higher self's like, actually, we've got a past life that's really inhibiting you in a different area. We're going to visit that one. There's the bang.
There it is.
It's taking a photo to prove that he delivered it. Okay, beautiful. Do you guys do that there?
Not really.
They just drop and run. They take a photo. Since COVID, they're worse with it. Like they just
That's
take
what
a
Amazon
photo.
does. Amazon
they don't want to meet you at the door. They just run away. Yeah. Yeah, so that's the intention. So we're going to see if you have a life around that area that needs healing and clearing. That will help you. If not, we'll visit the next best life that will help you at this time. So that's the intention. So I will talk you through what I'm doing so you understand. So I'm not just, I will go quiet sometimes. I'll close my eyes for a bit and then I'll open them and look at the screen again. I can go back into it, no worries.
All right.
Okay, so I start off on a rainbow. This is how I start. And I color chooses me, my intention is I'm going to go into your past life and I will turn into you, and then I'll just look at my body and look around and see what's going on. You're a shiny, so this could be an interesting life that you need clearing. And if you see me twitch and jump and things, that's just me connecting and clearing things. That's just what I do. Okay. We've got yellow, so now I'm going to slide down the rainbow. And when I land, I'll be in a life of yours. Okay. I like you don't get stage fright. I just got to wait for it to open up a little bit, see what we have. I'm just seeing, so the first scene, when I start talking, the rest comes. So I thought I'm just seeing this little bit repeat, so I need to start saying it. And it's funny because I didn't know what they were doing, and then they showed me a movie from a scene, so I understood. Right, so that's what they do all the time. I'm a bit of a movie buff, so then they show me things that I can relate to, so I understand what I'm looking at. Because I saw you sort of balance and walk on some rocks, and then there was some kind of tree. I don't know if it was a tree or a cactusy looking thing, but you tap something into it and you were tapping, like hammering, knocking it with a rock. And I was like, what are you doing in my head? And then they said tree tapping. And then they showed me a scene from the Hunger Games. If you've seen that, where to survive, they had these little funnels and they tapped them into the tree, and then the water poured out because there was no water that you could drink.
Yeah.
Right, so that you were doing some tree tapping. But you seem quite young, like a teenager. So I'll go back into it and see why you were doing that. Maybe, because in the desert there's no water. It feels really dry there. So I feel like we have gone into the Middle East, like you said, so which is cool. So I'll go back and see.
All right.
Resourceful. It's like just the knowledge that you have, that you know what to do, and you're teaching people.
I definitely have survival skills in this life.
There you go. That's great.
I'm a prepper.
That's funny. So you feel like a 19-year-old male, and you've got little kids. You're teaching a class, and they're just following you. You all have bare feet, wearing really simple clothes. I'm feeling like cheeseclothy kind of linen material, like cheap versions of that, scratchy versions of that. I just got told. I was thinking that sounds a bit nice, and then I got itchy. It's so funny how I get shown things. I feel it sometimes. Okay, so they're just following you around. You're teaching them things. It's a weird look. I don't know the tree. I can't tell what it is. The word boab, but I think that's an Australian tree, so I don't know. Yeah. It's just maybe it's like that. All right, let's see. What else can you tell me? Kind
of like a Joshua tree.
Maybe I don't know.
Like that. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not really good with names, so that you get whatever skills you have is what your abilities are. Okay, let's go. Show me something important that he needs to know about, or we need to focus on, please. Okay. Even I question stuff, even though I've seen weird things before.
Yeah.
So you were okay. As I explained it, that might make more sense. So I just got shown a scene where you were inside a really cool room, and as in cold, but it felt like a pyramid. But you were inside. We just jumped to the scene. You're looking at, those sphinx, like it's like a cat person.
Oh, yeah.
Where they got a cat head. And you were looking at a statue of that inside this pyramid. But then I got shown myself, which was you, and you were also that person. Like you were the cat.
Oh.
So I think that's like a god. So this is later. But yeah, it's like you. So now I'm getting shown that no wonder you had all these little followers, because you weren't a human as such. you were what are they called? I don't even know what.
I would say a hybrid.
Yeah, but it's like I've seen pictures of in Egyptian drawings. Maybe someone listening might know. In Egyptian drawings,
Yeah.
where yeah, it's like hybrid, but it was like a god or someone that was worshipped, because that's why they were so into cats. Like sometimes there was a god that was half human, and then they had like an eagle head, but these ones are cats. That was you as well, but people worship. So you were. It's like an alien. You're on Earth though during that time. So this must be ancient Egypt, where there was actual physical gods on the Earth looking like people. So you were quite big.
Oh, okay.
Bigger than the average person, like really tall. Okay.
So I was visiting. I may not have been here. I was here during a life, but I was possibly just visiting, going, all right, and kind of teaching.
It does. Yes, it doesn't feel like you were there for a really, really long. Like
now,
you did
that's
grow.
interesting that you picked that up, because I want to tell you something.
Okay, I love this. I love how we figure out how it integrates.
Yeah, when we put two stories together, I was like, ooh.
Okay, that's good. All
I've
right.
had several readings over the course of the last many years, and they all come out the same. Is a lot of my past lives have shown that I'm a reverend and or doctor or a teacher in this life, but I was also a teacher in all my lives back then. Some of them much bigger than
Points for me.
now.
Points for me.
Yeah.
For getting that right. I love that.
And what's interesting too is this extraterrestrial or this godlike figure that you're picking up.
Yes.
That I have a spirit guide that I'm working with in this life that is hundreds of thousands of years old. He goes by the name of Emunigas. And he is an intermediary, and he works with me. And I actually have a picture of him that a friend of mine who is an art intuitive, and she actually painted him as he came through to talk to her to give his identity.
Wish I could paint.
And yeah, it was like, ooh, it looks like a dragon, but he's like, I'm not. He told her, I was like, I'm not a dragon. I'm extraterrestrial. I'm not from this earth.
It's just how.
Yeah. But he was standing in front of the portal, the gate, the Stargate. He was standing in front of the Stargate looking into his world. But he was on this side because he was working with me.
Okay.
But
okay. I have to they're pestering me. I have to go finish this life.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No worries.
Yeah. It's like I have to get back to it. So this is why etchings and drawings and paintings and things will be found of different kinds of creatures and gods, because they actually were on the earth, is what they're saying. Like they were there with the people. This time you came back as like, I don't know, pretty normal looking dude being a doctor and a reverend. It would be a bit strange if you were a hybrid godlike creature these days. But back then it was way more accepted as a bit like normal because it was so long ago.
Yeah.
So that's why they don't explain why it was like normal for you to be some kind of hybrid, and it was just accepted and worshipped. And we had it in all cultures, different countries. That's why you have all these amazing drawings you'll find in caves for Aborigines in Australia and Indians, like that. They have these amazing drawings because they were actually there, not just channeled, not just seen in the smoke, like they were real. Okay, so I'm just going to go back and see what you need to know about that, or what we need to clear. Is there anything else important that we need to know for you? Like there must be a lesson or something that needs clearing. That's why we're seeing it. Okay. I'm getting the theme of frustration because things weren't quite sinking in. You were there. It says like you were there longer. You grew from like a teenage body, even though you're a god, to an adult. But then you were there for like at least 100 years without changing once you looked a certain age. And you were teaching a couple of generations, but it didn't quite sink in and you didn't get to as many people as you wanted. And there was this frustration that they just weren't getting it because the humanness got in the way, like emotions and love and all that stuff. And so they didn't have that mentality because they didn't understand the concept of what you're explaining because, yeah, they're having these real experiences, even though it's like, but isn't it enough that I'm here in front of you looking like I do and knowing everything I know? It should be enough for you to understand. But the brain worked very differently in humans. And so you would get frustrated that you couldn't quite get it through to people. And it made you a little bitter, a little bit egotistical, a little bit, yeah, really frustrated. So then you just decided to exit and leave and go back and try. This is why you come back so many times as a teacher of some sort, because you need to keep coming back. And even though you get frustrated with humanity and humans, they're saying, you keep coming back and you're going to keep coming back in every era, every decade or whatever, and just try to, and overlapping, they're showing you've got more than one life going at a time for you at the moment. You're just busy and you're trying to educate and help. Well, that, Dolores, that might be why he would have similar frustrations now, because maybe, you're doing amazing. All the things you've learned, and you'll have this platform, for example, where you can help educate, but not everyone gets it. And maybe part of your lesson is to understand that not everyone's supposed to. It's up to what their lessons are in this life, and we can't help everybody. It's up to them. We can't just shake them awake. Like it's their journey, and they might have to keep coming back until they figure it out in their own time. But they'll gravitate to the right teachers when they need to. So I'm just going to quickly clear and heal anything that needs healing. I can't just leave it open. Don't let anybody ever go tell you about a past life and then just not do anything about it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. So we just thank universe for clearing and healing anything from that life that Paul does not need now, that may be inhibiting him, maybe holding him back. Release all the frustrations and anything else that we're not aware of. Thank you. We'd like to integrate any skills, knowledge, anything that'll be helpful from that life into him now to help him move forward in this life and in future lives. Awesome. Thank you. Quick as that. Awesome. Oh, good job. You're in the zone.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. And I just sort of put you in like an energetic cocoon to protect you just in case anything was missed, like wrapping up. So I'm just watching it form around you as you're sitting there. It's very cool. You got like vines, like vine leaves, which is the earthy connection, which is nice. Keeping you grounded, Mr. Cat God. Yeah. Good job. Wow. Do you have cats?
I used to have cats. I haven't had cats in a while, but I've got a lot of Egyptian statues around the house.
Well, it does make sense.
Hand-painted papyruses and stuff like that of all the different stages of Osiris and Isis and Horus and stuff like that. And
you might have had more lives in this area, but you were there for at least 100 years as a god educating, so that's pretty cool. Yeah. Like no wonder that energy comes through for you.
Huh.
Yeah, awesome.
That is awesome. So if anybody out there wants a reading with Xzavia, definitely.
Xzavia. He said it right. Yeah, good job.
It's not it's the A.
Do the accent like Xzavia.
Xzavia. Like X-Men, the X-Men.
That's who I was named after.
Xzavia.
Yeah, my dad, Marvel fanatic, just Professor X and changed the spelling to be weird.
Yeah. A quick question too, as far as Australia. Yes. What is the name of that mountain that's out in the middle? I'm not sure where. Is it in the middle? Because that's like that rock.
Uluru or Ayers Rock.
Like interesting stories about that.
Yeah, it's one of the chakra centers of the world. We have different chakras. Like the world itself has chakras.
Yeah.
Did you know that? Yeah. So Hawaii has like the volcanoes. They have one.
Okay.
And Uluru is one of them as well. So it's just amazing energy there. I haven't actually been to the Central Australia yet in the desert, so I would love to go there and visit. You just do need to be careful and respectful. So a lot of people used to climb it and things, and so there's rules around that now not to do that. But just being in the area of the energy would be just amazing. So
because there's a lot of sacred areas, from
Yes.
indigenous tribes and stuff like that, from the Aboriginal
Mhm.
tribes, that they're like, no.
And we've done enough damage to our Aboriginal community here over history, just like, because, that happens in every country when white jerks come and take over
Yeah.
someone else's land. So, so being as respectful as we can is important.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. They call us the colonists.
Oh, exactly. Dolores is a past life regression practitioner. Awesome. Yeah. So my version's different. And my co-host, if you're listening at the start, Dolores, for my podcast, he does past life regression. Not exactly like you might do. He's a hypnotherapist, but past lives also come up. So my version is just a bit different, a different process that I see it for my clients instead. So they got to be open-minded, I guess, enough to trust that I'm healing it and releasing it for them in a quicker, different style.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter which way you do it, because people go to what they're drawn for their healing, and the style doesn't matter as long as they're getting help, I believe.
Yeah, Richard says as he gets older, he's seeing more and more flashes of what he believes were past lives.
Yeah, well, they might need clearing, but otherwise you could visit them yourself out of curiosity. If you feel like it's something that needs to be shifted, then get a regression or see someone like me to clear it if it needs it.
Yeah.
Cool.
You're going to be back on in, I'd say, what?
2 weeks.
Or
Or less now, because on the regular time when the show's supposed to be on.
Yeah. We'll be talking on twin flames.
Yes, twin flames and soulmates, the difference, the myths, and all that fun stuff.
Yeah. The myths and the legends.
There's so much going on around there, and I can help. Definitely help with that. And people who jump on can, if they're wondering if they have a twin flame or soulmate, like everyone has soulmates, but if you're not sure if you're a twin flame, I can let you know, because I am one. And there's not that many though, and it really doesn't matter, but I'll talk about that more in the show.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, awesome. I've enjoyed this. I love the background and everything of your show. And I love watching some of your other shows as well.
Makes you feel like it's like you're in my spaceship looking out with the background. It's like, yep,
I love
welcome aboard the ship.
Yeah, mine's way more boring. I've got purple hair matching your whole scene, but you can't really see it.
There you go.
Black. I blend in. This is great.
Yeah.
Awesome. If anyone's
cool.
Before we finish, you're all welcome to ask.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions, we got a couple minutes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Let's see. What's Richard? I have an appointment of past life retrievalist next week. Oh, cool. So Richard's gonna go see a past life.
Awesome. Retrievalist. That's a different way of calling it.
Retrievalist. Yeah.
You know, honestly, a past life is like a term for everyone to understand, but are they even in the past? Are they all happening at the same time?
Exactly. That's when you get into the quantum physics.
And you can have more than one life now going. Like I just did our last podcast episode, actually, we did Michael hypnotized me and went into mine, and I did my version for him, and I got shown that I had 27 different versions of me now. I saw so there's 27 different me's doing things.
Oh wow.
I'm like, okay, well, I'm busy. So we get impatient. Our soul wants to learn as much as it can.
Oh yeah. We're racing to get to that next light.
Ready to go home.
Experience and stuff like that. That's why I'm also impatient. You know, some of my friends that I work with on not on the show, but have been on the show that I work with outside and stuff like that. You know, I'm always doing something or want this or want that, and they're like, "Hold on, you're not even a year old. You're still crawling." Just take your time. It'll happen.
Yep.
So,
yep. Awesome.
Well, Xzavia, thank you for joining us this evening. It's been a pleasure to have you on.
Treasure.
And if anybody out there wants to connect with Xzavia and get a reading done, and or take your classes, go check out our website.
If you'd like to study with me one-on-one or just do my online course, I love teaching, and anybody can do what I'm doing. You learn what you're ready for, and it can come thick and fast. I've
Yeah.
mentored lots of people and they're always really surprised. And in that course, I teach you how to heal and clear past lives, which is my
Awesome.
favorite class. Yep.
All right.
The best.
Cool. Xzavia,
Awesome. Nice to meet you guys. Thanks for your comments too.
you have a wonderful day. It's the end of mine,
Thank
but it's
you.
the beginning of yours.
Have
So
a great night. Have good dreams. I'm excited for
Will
you
do.
what might come forward after you've had your past life cleared. So
yeah.
we'll see what happens for you.
Yeah. Let's see what kind of dream I'm going to have tonight. They're like, oh, here comes the cats.
Bye.
Y'all have a good night. Thank you for watching Conscious Radio Network. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Tune in next week. Y'all have a good night, good evening, and I'll